Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how I made this animation in Cartoon Animator 5 and take a look at the new freeform deformation tools in this update. Big thank you to Reallusion for sponsoring this video. Be sure to click the link in the description if you want to try it for yourself. So something I've always really enjoyed and would highly recommend when designing characters or backgrounds if you're struggling for ideas is to use a mirror or symmetry tool. Here are a few of my early sketches for this project which I really liked. In the end, I moved forward with this design which I cleaned up in Affinity Designer. This was a vector experiment made with shape layers. I then made another version and this time it was raster based and made in Procreate with a yellow and green palette and a nice textured brush, which I ended up liking more and decided to finalize. The background had several layers to it that I planned to arrange in the 3D view later to create a sense of depth with a camera move, and cover up the lower portion of the character so you wouldn't see the edges of the design. I cleaned up the PSD file and organized everything back in Affinity Designer, saving the background and character to different files before dragging and dropping the character into Cartoon Animator 5. Adding bones and making sure everything worked properly took the longest time, because I wanted to get the rig right. I'd recommend previewing the motion and rotation of both regular bones and spring bones if you're going to use them as you go along. It'll save you so much time when it comes to animation if you can spot mistakes early. For this animation, I wanted a couple of extra poses for the hands, and it was really easy to add them in with the sprite editor as transparent PNG files. I just had to check each of the sprites to make sure that they were all aligned and scaled properly with the bones. When the character was finally rigged, it was time to create a custom rig GUI, which you can find in the toolbar to the left. Click capture and it'll bring up a mini preview of your character and all the bones. This just makes it so much easier when you're selecting different bones and animating, which was my next step. I started out with the arms using the motion tab on the timeline and the 2D motion key editor to be able to easily select the bones I needed. Here the arms would rotate from the elbow, opening outwards, and at this point I switched the hand sprites in the sprite editor. First was the open pose as the arms reached their widest angle, and then the closed fist when they moved back towards the center. This move would be the activation of the powers that I was going to animate later. I created extra keys for the hands and arms to move back and forth till the end of the animation. Switching out the hands created keyframes in the timeline so I could move them about if I wanted to change the timing. Playing this through, the movement is a little bland, so I use the new freeform deformation tools which you can bring up in the toolbar on the left hand side. You can view your keyframes and movements in the FFD tab in the timeline. This tool is great for adding a little squash and stretch to your animations and adjusting the perspective of your character or prop. There are 6 collections of presets to choose from, and if I want to combine presets, I can activate the additive function and select another. Double-clicking on a preset will increase its intensity. However, a lot of these options are quite strong already, and I do prefer a more subtle adjustment. So I like to reduce the intensity by pressing the minus button at the bottom of this panel. If you're looking to create a more exaggerated movement, the presets are great, and you can always experiment with the position, rotation, scale, and alignment options to get the look you want. If you prefer to manipulate the mesh yourself, you can move individual points or select multiple by clicking and dragging. To add more points, hold Ctrl on your keyboard and select the ones you want. Adjusting the mesh will automatically create keyframes where the playhead is on the timeline. But if you want to add them in manually to hold a position or mark it out for something later, you can click Set Key from the panel and it will create a keyframe for you. For this animation, I used a mix of presets on a lower intensity and moving the points by hand. I wanted the arms to move outward and the design to stretch up to create anticipation, before the design would compress or squash down when I switched the hand position to a fist. This definitely gave the arm and hand movement more of an impact and would be the point where I introduced the magic elements to the animation. These glowing balls of light were super simple and made using the circle tool in Affinity Designer. I chose 3 colours that would fit with my current palette and then created duplicates that I changed to white. I then used the Gaussian blur effect on the colour layers and white copies to soften the edges. I then merged them and exported each circle as transparent PNGs before bringing them into Cartoon Animator 5 as props. From there, I keyed the opacity to fade in, staggering the timing of each so they wouldn't all appear at once. I used the hand animation to help direct their movement, moving each individually and playing the animation through many times until I got the look I wanted. I didn't really feel that 3 was enough, so I duplicated circles 1 and 2 to create smaller variations that would move alongside them. With the animation complete, all that was left to do was bring in the background layers and position them in the 3D view, before finishing it off with a camera move and adding a transition curve to smooth it out. If you want to be a bit more consistent when adjusting the mesh on your characters and props, you can mirror the points from one side to another, or use the average option, which will help you achieve a more even spacing. There are animations which already have the freeform deformation applied, or presets which you can access in the Content Manager. Simply drag and drop these onto your characters or props. In the FFD tab in the timeline, you can right-click on these clips and reduce or increase the intensity till you're happy with them. I hope you found this video helpful. If you want to try this out for yourself, click the link in the description and check out this video to find out more about the new features in Cartoon Animator 5. Thanks again to Reallusion for sponsoring this video, and I'll be back with another one real soon. Bye!